Hi, greetings to all. I am Dr. Shankarnarayan Paleri from NSS Training College, University of Calicut, Kerala. Today's session is Teaching and Learning Process in Indian Higher Education Sector. I welcome you all to this session. This session aimed to provide overall awareness on teaching learning programs in higher education sector in India. Let me tell the objectives of this particular topic. This session provide a brief awareness on trends in higher education in India, myriads of challenges and changes in higher education teaching and learning, to explore the teaching learning higher education in India based on position of teachers, modern methods of teaching, self-learning strategies, online teaching, intervention of social media like WhatsApp, blogs and so on higher education teaching, blended teaching and learning, concept maps, research oriented teaching approaches, reflective teaching, guided discovery strategies, socialized recitation methods, metacognitive learning strategies, peer tutoring, theatre pedagogy, participatory teaching methods, technology assisted or incorporated teaching, models of teaching and micro teaching, web learning and mobile learning, utilization of open educational resources and distance education. These all are the brief discussions of this topic. I want to start from a fact that higher education classrooms are on the crossroads, and this peculiarity is not the peculiarity of India alone, but of all countries in the world. We have to remember one thing: gone are the days that assumed teachers as the center of the classrooms. The recent higher education classrooms give all priorities to the learners. Students are the heroes in the classroom. We know normally screenplay of a movie is written based upon the hero's character. So, if students are heroes of the classroom, the screenplay of the teaching learning process must be prepared in such a way by that learners should be highlighted. So, the higher education classroom teaching is on a pathway of learner-centered approach. UNESCO identified that higher education is increasingly viewed as a major engine of economic development with university, government and industry linkage. This is called as triple helix approach. If this is the fact, higher education should change accordingly in all the facets of governance, planning, admission, administration and teaching learning process. So, we must go on with the worldly changes while thinking of the higher education scenario. Trends indicate that Indian universities must make decisions about their academic programs in student centered ways. If the approach is learner centered, it means student centered. The pathway should be student centered. In a way, we can say that higher education students are the customers of knowledge. It is not injustice to say like this. I mean, there is nothing injustice in saying that customers of knowledge. It is the substantiation to the trend. This trend will impact on the aims, methods and practice of universities and colleges and will change their structure and model. We can see a live example that this trend makes the universities or colleges to embrace technology and contemporary models of teaching and learning for the benefit of the learners, approaches to satisfy the customers. It is an irreproachable fact that no higher education institution can aloof from the recent trends of teaching and learning. The new trend explained like this: teaching learning is an active process in which people construct new knowledge through situated and authentic tasks, either individually or collaboratively, and through active exploration, experimentation, discussion and reflection. It means the higher education classrooms should provide opportunities to the learners for active exploration, active experimentation, discussion and reflection. The students cannot be the passive listeners of teachers lecturing as it was decades before. The method should be effective and the higher education should be fruitful if there is opportunities for individually or collaboratively tasks through active exploration, experimentation, discussion and reflection from the side of learners. We know that India has a long history in higher education. Once we are discussing about the trends in the higher education sector of India, we must remember this fact: we have a long history in higher education. We had highly acknowledged higher education institutions even before other parts of the world thought of it. We had great education institutions at Takshashila, Nalanda, Vikramshila, Ujjaini and in some other cities also. We had renowned gurus and their learning centers. In all these institutions and centers, our ancestors practiced various types of teaching approaches. It means our country has a longest history in the methods and practices for classrooms also, though we can say it is a classroom. Indian higher education may be the mother of lecture method and preaching method. We know we followed the approach of Shravana, Manana and Nididhyasa as an approach for teaching and learning, hearing and taking into the mind and being a meditation on the knowledge. It is really an amazing recognition that the method followed these three steps of Shravana, Manana and Nididhyasa. We had an oral teaching method years before, centuries before. The oral teaching that followed by ancient India was highly content oriented. We had suitable methods for developing effective learning. Now, what I mean to explain is that innovations in teaching learning approaches either for school levels or for higher education is not a new thing to our country. We developed, adopted, adapted, enriched, demonstrated and practiced different types of teaching learning methods in our higher education classroom time to time. As I told before, the role of teachers as the cogs or center of the classroom is going out. No doubt, we can't replace teachers with any of the methods or technology. Teachers are teachers and they are essential factor for any learning process. But teaching learning process are confronting paradigm shift in approaches and methods. We have to discuss the topic in this context. Every teaching learning method should be oriented to develop the student's capacity. A method is developing by a teacher or a researcher not to make a good method, but to make use the good method for the effective learning of the learner. Primary aim of teaching learning process is nothing but the development of the learner. Whatever it is useful for the development of the learner, that is the best approach and best method.